the hatred between Africans and Caribbeans was strong.
This is Windrush, right?
God.
Windrush came what is the Windrush? The 1930s?
Yeah, when Caribbeans came over to England to help after the First World War. So,
yes, right.
You know, they came over the 40s and 50s and 60s. They came. Yeah. And, you know, that colonialism, they brainwashed Caribbeans, Jamaicans, and didn't even know that they were descended from Africans.
Right.
I went to school with kids who had no idea. No, man, I'm Jamaican. We're talking about. My mom and dad are Jamaican. And I'd be like, you weren't in, your ancestors were brought to, they did not know.
Wow.
Until Roots came out. They didn't know because they were deliberately kept uneducated.
Yes.
So because of that, there was a chasm between Africans born in Africa and Caribbeans, because Caribbeans looked at Africans and were like, ugh, they think they're better than us, and they come from the jungle and all this, because all they knew about Africans was what was in the Tarzan movies.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Africans looked down on Caribbeans, going, hey, look at them, they don't even know their own history, they're useless. So there was that. So my mum wouldn't let me go anywhere, and she did not like it when I had Caribbean, Jamaican, just Jamaicans, don't mix with them. You know, my mum would rather I had white friends than Jamaican friends. That's how bad it was.
Yo, what's up? 154. This is a constant topic, but when people say, you know, if it keeps happening, it's you. You know, like my grandparents used to say, if one person tells you something about yourself, it's it could be anything. But if multiple people tell you something about yourself, the same thing, it's you. And this is that. So what you get is these situations where, whether it be Africans in America, Africans in the UK, it's the same story. They come around, let's just say people from the Western Hemisphere, from North America, right? And you don't know who you are, and you don't, you're really from us. And it's like, okay. And then there's these people don't know anything about Africa. And it's like, oh, okay. And then that there's a beef. It's like, oh, okay. And then, our parents said we don't be around them, and we'd rather be around white folks than those folks. Okay. If this keeps happening, who's the one with the problem? See, if it's happening in the United States of America, if it's happening in the United Kingdom, guess what? Africa, you're going to be the problem. Because, once again, it was said that your parents told you to stay away from folks. Your family told. You didn't even hear that. She didn't say that from the quote unquote Jamaicans. You didn't. Their family said, that's not what happened. Now, here's the thing. And I think it's bias, lack of objectivity, where when you have these situations, I've constantly seen Africans just ignore their part in these situations. These people didn't know they thought they were from Jamaica. That sounds so much like where you from. I'm from Louisiana. Where you really from? Okay, New Orleans. But where you really from? Bitch, what are you? That, So where you from? Jamaica. Where you really from? Kingston. But where you really from? From Jamaica. What the fuck are you asking me? What the fuck? You don't know where you're from. That's what that gives off, which creates a problem. Oh, I know where I'm really from. And You know where you really from? Cool, but where you at? You're not at where you're really from. You know what I mean? And a lot of times that comes off, even when people say, you people are lost. It's like, so we're lost where we're at, and you came to where we're at, thinking that we should represent where you're from. No. Same thing with the other act that I talked about, David. I forgot his name. David Owolo or Yellow. I forget. Sorry. You put some slavery on the voice, and you put some subservience with a British accent and a white wife. Hilarious. Like it's like people are oblivious to their blatant contradictions, their blatant hypocrisies. It's like, okay. And even Godfrey, right? Godfrey talked about how, yeah, it's a thing with the, African parents, like, stay away from those people. So to hear it from somebody that's in Britain, that's from Britain, yeah, that means you were doing it here, you were doing it there. You get what I mean? That's a thing. And, and that's one thing I can say in North America that doesn't necessarily exist. People might represent where they're from, but I'm not going to talk to a person that's Jamaican and they're going to ask me, where you from? And I'm going to tell them, I'm from Louisiana. Oh, where you from? I'm from New Orleans. Where you really from? That's not going to come up. You're not going to get that on this side of in North America, on the Western Hemisphere. You're not going to get that conversation. You're going to get, I'm from here, you from there. That's what it is. I'm going to represent where I'm from. You're going to represent where you from. That's it. But even in that, I can say the parental thing where our parents told us don't be around y'all. That happens. That happens from Caribbeans and whatnot. That has happened. Generally, they don't listen to that. But that was a thing. That's been a thing. Now, here's where I gotta ask the question. Why do like Africans on social media and public platforms, why do y'all want to claim people so much now? You know what I mean? Like this it looks like, from a Black American point of view, and even with the quote unquote diaspora and delineation, it looks like we've been different this whole time. Like, we all black. No, I'm this. We all black. No, you're black. I'm this. We all black. No, you're black. I'm this. And then it's like Black Americans go, okay, well, I'm black. You're that. No, we're all black. That's how this comes off. When did y'all start claiming black? Oh, y'all come from us. Why do we got to come from y'all now? And here's the thing. You're going to have, like, this is where it gets a little tricky. You'll have people from Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, predominantly. Y'all black like, okay, you come from us. Which one of y'all specifically? How about that? Because all of y'all will claim us now for some odd reason, but none of y'all can say where we actually come from when we don't know where we actually come from. You don't know either. So why claim us in the first place? Because if you want to claim us, you got to claim your complicity in us being, quote unquote, in the Western Hemisphere. Y'all come from us, so we just, kind of like I like this statue from Senegal when a father's pointing across the sea. It's a constant reminder, right? But at the same time, we ain't gonna build a boat. We're gonna build a statue. Say they over there. But the gesture is appreciated. But it looks like it lacked a lot of effort. The effort of the statue was one thing, but the effort of like, let's go, no. Let's go back. Let's go get them. No. So I get that there's a racial rift in America between white and black. Absolutely. History has shown that. And it's going to be that way. That white America is going to always dislike black America for whatever made up reason they got. What I don't get, though, what their hate for us is irrational too, but what I don't get, though, is when did Africa, y'all, it looks like you're just a leech of success. You'll go wherever you think is more successful than your own country. And when you get to another country, you'll create an animosity with any other black group because you want to compete for quote unquote resources that ironically you didn't work for. You get what I mean? Because if I'm not mistaken, Windrush was predominantly Jamaicans. If I'm not mistaken, America, it's predominantly black Americans did a lot of the heavy lifting here. And I say that to say this, and even in America, I don't hear this concept of Africans going to Jamaica, Costa Rica, to Guyana, to Belize, to the Bahamas, to Barbados, to Trinidad. I don't hear that. It's like, so they got resources in the UK and they got resources in America. That's where we going. And in China, so it's like, it looks like you're just going to constantly go places and, want what they got. And when you get there, have an animosity towards them. But in Asia, it's not so much that because there's no other black people to compete with like that. So Asia, they just cussing y'all out and disrespecting y'all. But the Americas and the UK, it's really an African thing creating these beefs from your own words. But I'm going to leave it at that. Tell me what you think. Catch you on the next one. Peace.